Welcome to Elevate Your Mind, your number one podcast for peak performance strategies that will enhance your mindset, develop your emotional skill set, and maybe, just maybe, be the catalyst to create positive forward momentum in your life. Here's what's to come from today's pod.
Not the case. How many times have you been in a situation where you've learnt your grounding techniques or you've learnt your breathing strategies or whatever it is that you've learned, but when anxiety, as an example, hits, you can't even think straight? Boom, and we are live. Guys, welcome back to Elevate Your Mind, the number one podcast that is going to break through the limiting emotions, feelings, fears, worries and doubts that are holding you back. Because when I bring you these particular episodes, I always come to these episodes with a brainwave or a thought, usually based off a client session or conversations that I've had with people, or based on the fact that I start to see a pattern amongst people. And the latter there is going to be what this particular episode is based on. This is the 5 reasons why you still may be stuck emotionally with this limiting emotion that you're facing. The 5 reasons that you may still be stuck. Because truthfully, from my experience at this stage, and having helped probably 500, 600 people in a one-to-one basis and however many more via group programs, I'd have to be an idiot to not see there's certain patterns that keep people caged, keep people stuck. And this is where ultimately I can help you and whoever else break through these things, because you recognize these patterns. So this is going to be the 5 reasons. And what this is hopefully going to do is spark a thought within you, because you might resonate with just one. And if it's just the one, you can see one of the reasons why. If it's 2, great, there's something I need to do about it. If it's 3 or more, okay, we've got work to do. We've got some work to do. And so a slightly different way that I'm approaching this particular episode, but valuable nonetheless, okay? Because you see, here's the first thing. The first thing that you need to be aware of. The first reason. Some of you like to take notes, I know, when you're listening to these particular episodes. Great, do that. I recommend that you do that, because if you can do that, then not only do you take conscious understanding of it, but you actually start to wire it into your thinking. So please do that. It's a wonderful thing whether you're with me on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify. Because the first pattern that I see, the first reason that people may still be stuck with these limiting emotions is this. You are story-based, not action-focused. I'll repeat that again. You are story-based, not action-focused. You would not believe the amount of people who live their life based on a fabricated story. Because this happened in my life, it means this. Really? Does it actually? Because oftentimes it doesn't. Because my mum did this to me, because my dad did this to me, because this situation happened, because this event happened in my life, because this person left me, because this person passed away, this is the reason I am the way that I am. And they're so focused on that story, which, by the way, doesn't serve them, that they stay emotionally stuck there. And when we do that, we relinquish our power. We relinquish all parts of our being into whatever it may be, this particular feeling or emotion or circumstance that has the hold on us. People are so story focused, they're so story based, I should say, that they can't focus on action. That needs to change. Anyone who achieves anything within their emotions or any other area of their life is focused on action. What they can do today to take control today to then enhance themselves moving forwards. That is the number one pattern that I see with people. They're focused on the past. You can't change what happened 10 minutes ago, let alone 10 months ago or 10 years ago. What you can take control of is where you sit and stand right here today. That's where you can become action focused. That's where you can really cement yourself in, right, what can I do? The past doesn't equal the future unless you choose to live there. And most people are so story based that that's where they're stuck. They're so story based that that's where they're stuck. This is a lot of the reasons why as well, when people go to therapy or counselling, they have to go for months and years on end. This isn't knocking anyone who works in that area. I'm just saying that methodology, in my view, is completely not optimal to helping people overcome it. Why? Because you go back to therapy each week and you talk about the same blimmin' story each week. How does that make you feel? How's it? It's like I'm just rehashing this story over and over and over. The whole reason I'm here is to get out of this story. I'm going to get to that in some later reasonings, because truthfully, those types of conversations are just going to keep you caged, whether it's with yourself or with others. We need to be action focused, not story based. Because guess what? When you start to become action focused, guess what becomes your story in the not too distant past? What you've just created. If I said from this moment for the next 2 weeks in my life, I'm going to be completely action focused. In 2 weeks' time, when I look back, guess what the story is? What I've just created in my life. It's an interesting concept when you put it like that. Not many people see that. We need to be action focused, not story based. That's number one. Is that the reason you're staying stuck? Maybe. Some of you might have circled that already. Number two. See this a lot as well. The second reason you may be stuck with these certain limiting emotions is this. You don't have the urgency to deal with it and sort it now. You don't have the urgency to deal with it and sort it now. And I say the word now. Let me be very clear with this, just so I don't beat around the bush with this. If you are not actively doing something in the area of your emotions to help yourself move past it for good, you're not at the stage where it's urgent for you. You might tell yourself you are to try and convince yourself that you're doing things in that area. Unless you're actually clearly and concisely taking purposeful action in the area that's going to help you move past it, it's not urgent enough for you. It's not. It is not. I'm not saying this to, blame or shame or finger point. I've seen this enough times. People promise the world. Their actions say things very different. It's not urgent enough for you. We all know we should go down the gym more. I've said this analogy before. We all know we should go down the gym more, right? We all know we should go down the gym more. We all know we should eat healthier. When do we? When we sit in front of the doctor and he says you've got early onset diabetes, you're close to heart disease, this is looking really bad, and then all of a sudden we're down the gym every day and we become a vegan overnight. Am I right? Why? Because all of a sudden it becomes urgent for us then. Most people, they haven't met their emotional threshold where they say enough is enough. And it's not urgent enough for them. It's an inconvenience, I feel, the way that I do with this emotion. It causes me some pain, but I've learned to live with it. If you've learned to live with a devil, guess what? You've made your peace with it, emotionally. Not consciously. I'm not saying that consciously you like it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is it's not urgent enough for you. And it's not urgent enough because you haven't got to that emotional threshold, and or you've learned to live with the devil in this sense. This is what keeps people stuck with this for many, many times, many, many years, many, many decades in some cases. Say cases if you can talk properly. This is why. Because it's not urgent for them. Let's say, for example, let's say some of you have got kids. Let's say your kid was like, you know what, I need you to pick me up, please. You're like, oh, it's fine, you can get the bus. Or, it's fine, just walk home. But then they phone up, they're like, look, I need you to pick me up right now, please, please, please. I really need you to pick me up. I really need you to pick me up. You're going to be there in a heartbeat, right? Why? Because it's urgent for you in that moment. There's no thinking, there's no this, you're there, you show up. It's urgent, you take purposeful, meaningful action. Why? Because potentially the consequence is so big, or because things could go wrong, or because it gets made a priority in your life. You know, I speak to people sometimes and it's funny because I exchange messages with people and they're like, I really want to sort this, Matt. It's been long enough. It's been far too long where I've wanted to deal with this trait. I really need to go past it. I really need to move past it. And I'm like, okay, great. What's your availability like this week? They're like, oh, I don't think I'm going to have the time to chat this week, actually. Shall we do another time? Excuse me. You've just spent 20 minutes telling me how important this is and telling me how urgent this is for you and this and that. And then you can't arrange a time for a chat to solve it for good? Yeah, it's not urgent for you. It's not urgent for you. It's not. It's another reason why we keep going back again to certain things over and over and over, because we do the bare minimum. You know, if I tick the box of doing the bare minimum, if I show up to my counselling call once a week, then I can try to convince myself that I'm doing something. Doesn't quite do it. It's a never-ending process. It's not urgent enough. You know, I worked with someone last year who got in contact with me. He said, Matt, I've been dealing with this for 3 years and I remember this so clearly. He said, I need this sorted by May the 13th. May the 13th. I said, okay. By the way, this was April the 2nd when he made contact with me. And I know this story because it's so clear in my mind. He said, I need this sorted by May the 13th. I said, okay. Why? He said, because my wife is due with our first baby on that day and I can't become a dad for the first time with all of this overhanging me. That's urgent. It's urgent for that guy. He's ready. It's a must for him. Lo and behold, he smashed the program. We fast-tracked the program for him. He was finished by the 7th, 8th of May. His wife gave birth on the 10th of May. I think it was the 10th or 11th of May. He's a dad now. He's living his life. He's got a beautiful daughter. This is what I'm saying. Step number 1 is we need to be action focused, not solution based. Step number 2, or reason number 2 that you might still be caged, is not urgent enough for you. It's not urgent. It's an inconvenience. It's not urgent. Unless you're doing something to take action in that area, it's not urgent. Number 3. Reason number 3. And as I say, some of these may resonate more with you, but I'm going to share all 5 with you. And like I say, if one of them, cool. 2 of them, right, I better get to it. 3 plus, we need to start taking some drastic action here. Not because I'm judge and juror, by the way. For the simple reason that this is your life. You don't deserve to deal with these emotions, but these things don't just happen and change by chance. A great life doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. So you need to design that for yourself by recognizing these patterns and saying, you know what, I'm not going to do these patterns anymore. Because see, number 3 is this. And this is going to sound quite obvious, but stick around for this one. You only know what you know. And based on you only knowing what you know, you're only going to be able to break through in as much as what you consciously understand. Now, where am I getting at with this? Let me make this just very, very clear. This isn't bashing, this isn't finger pointing, but people go down these avenues of having conversations with other people, or they'll go to counselling, or they'll go to therapy, or they'll go to a forum, or whatever it may be, or an open evening where people can discuss these things, and the types of conversations that they're having are you-led. You-led. How does that make you feel? You know, what's the feeling when you're in this situation? Oh, what do you think might be a better way to move past this? It's like you only know what you know. The reason that you're going to these forums, the reason that you're going to your therapist, your counsellor, the reason that you're going to your open evenings to discuss it is to find the better ways to level up and level out of this particular feeling. Truthfully, this cannot be a you-led process if you are going to break out of this. This needs to be a coach or a therapist or a counsellor-led process who actually runs these sessions. You know, I used to do it myself. I used to go and see these psychologists when I used to work with myself, and they used to say to me, I used to spend my whole time, and they'd go to me, and how does that make you feel, Matt? Yeah, and how do you think might be a better way to deal with that? Right. And what do you think might be better for you in this instance? I'm like, well, this is wonderful and great, but it's really not actually, because I only know what I know. The whole reason I'm sat in front of you, Mr. Psychologist, is for you to actually tell me what would be the best way to help me break out and break free and level up in this particular area. You know, it's like someone who's coming round my house to fix my washing machine. If someone's coming round my house to fix my washing machine, I don't expect them to sit there and then go, okay, so what do you think might be the best option here of the best ways that you can fix this? And then I'm spending days, weeks, months on end going, oh, maybe if I took out that screw, maybe if I turned that there, would that be the right thing? No, the reason you're here, mate, is so you can help me do this. And I'm very passionate about this because I spent years myself going down all of these different avenues, and every single one I found was very much client-led, not coach-led. That needs to be reversed. You know, when people come to see me, truthfully, they've come to see me because they believe that I have got the expertise, I have got the methods, I have got the principles, the strategies to help them break through, which I have. So why would it then be a process where I go, right, how does that make you feel? Of course we need an understanding. Of course we need reasoning. Of course we want background. Of course we want a space for people to be heard and express their thoughts and feelings. Of course, that goes without saying. But there's no point me bringing the washing machine guy round for him just to ask me how do I think's the best way for me to move past that. And as I say, if you're going down avenues where all it's ever doing is allowing you to go more internal, focus more on you, you find the solution without actually any emotional breakthrough in that way, then we're constantly going to be in a case where we're going round in circles. We need avenues that are led by people with the results, with the expertise in a certain area who lead us in those ways. I still have those in my life now, in my physical health, in many different areas of my life. I go to see people and I don't sit there and go, okay, what do you think about it? No, I've come to see you so you can show me the way here. That's why we have coaches. That's why we have mentors. That's why we have people in our life to help us do this. Incredibly important, because number one, action focused, not story based. Number two is, as I say, we need it urgent. Number three is it needs to be a case where we are led in this way, not leading initially. Once you get a foothold, once you get an understanding, once you have then the tables can turn. Once I understand, right, the washing machine guy's shown me how that's what I need to do. Then I can lead it all I need, because now I know, now I've got a different breakthrough in my thinking. This is why. Okay, makes sense. The washing machine analogy I think is quite a good one. I might keep that one. What do you think? Let me know. And that's number 3. Reason number 4. How many are you at, by the way, at this stage? Let me know. How many are you at? Number 4. People only ever mentally challenge. They do not emotionally break through. Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. You've heard me do podcasts on this before. This is a massive reason why people stay stuck. Is because they only ever mentally challenge themselves. You know, what I mean by mentally challenge is, I'll see a thought and what do I think about that thought? Or if I gain more knowledge in this area, then that should help me. Or if I listen to another podcast, that may help me. Or if I listen to this, if I read this forum or read this book or have this conversation, that's only ever mentally challenging ourselves. And whilst that's great, you have 2 parts of your mind, the mental conscious thinking part and the emotional subconscious part. That is the part where you're going to create breakthroughs. People mentally challenge themselves. They think that knowledge is power. It's not. Knowledge is potential power. Applied knowledge is power. And when do you apply knowledge? When you have that emotional breakthrough, where you say enough is enough, where it's urgent, when you're ready to take action-based focus. when you're ready to take action focus, when you're ready to level up in your life, and you get to that threshold and you say, you know what, emotionally breaking through. Ask anyone who has ever stepped foot in the room with me, one-to-one, on Zoom with me during my sessions. We don't just talk. I don't just mentally challenge you. We do stuff on the sessions. We do practices. I do experiences with people that helps them emotionally break through, where the impossible all of a sudden becomes possible. That's never going to happen through just conscious understanding. I love bringing you these podcasts. I absolutely do. It's another avenue where I want to serve you and give you value. Of course it is. But I'm going to be truthful with you, so I'm not, leading anyone down a rogue path here. These are wonderful, but these are very, very wonderful based on the fact that you're taking actions in a certain area that is allowing you to emotionally break through. Emotionally go to a place where you haven't been before. This is everything of what my programs are based around. Why? Because we can have lovely conversations for years. I can go to have lovely conversations with whoever it may be, and they're very well-meaning people, whoever it is I'm having my conversations with. But all it ever is just mentally conversing, mentally understanding, mentally, oh, I get it. I understand the amygdala. I understand what happens with the vagus nerve. All these things. People know their anxiety or fear or worry or doubt or limiting emotions better than others. Why? Because you've dealt with it and you've spent your time in your forums. You've spent your time in the therapist's office. You've spent your time listening to the podcasts. You've spent your time reading the books. Why are you no closer to actually overcoming this for good then? Because people only ever mentally challenge themselves. They don't emotionally break through. It's absolutely fundamental. Absolutely fundamental. My bet, truthfully, is that most of you will have this one circled. Based on my experience, most of you will have this one circled. Why? Because if you've emotionally broke through a situation, you're not thinking, oh, have I? You know that you've had those experiences. And don't get me wrong, there's always more that we can emotionally break through with. But believe you me, it's not one of those where I think I get it. I think I have that understanding. No, you've got that full understanding within. And it's a huge one that keeps people caged, because we've been led to believe, school and the way that is, that the more understanding I have of a situation, the more that I'm going to be able to break through in that area, the more success I'm going to have. Not the case. Not the case. How many times have you been in a situation where you've learnt your grounding techniques, or you've learnt your breathing strategies, or whatever it is that you've learnt, but when anxiety, as an example, hits, you can't even think straight. You can't even, and then after you come out of it later on, you're like, I knew I should have done that instead. I knew I should have done that. Why didn't you then? I'll tell you why. Because all you ever did in learning those strategies and those coping mechanisms and management techniques that never actually work, truthfully, is all you was doing was appealing to the mental part of your brain. If you want to get through to the emotional part of your brain, you do it in a completely different way. It's where you get to that threshold and you break through that, where the impossible becomes possible. And as I say, I'm going to keep coming back to it. This particular podcast episode is slightly different in the sense where the reason I'm bringing you these is so you have an understanding of where you are. Some of you might have all 4 circled at the minute. Some of you might have 3 or 2 or 1. None of it's a problem. None of it's a problem. But this is meant to be an understanding for you to go and take purposeful action in the best way that you deem necessary after this. Because I see people going round and round and round in circles for months and years on end, and they never break through. I had someone start with me the program in December, might have been late November, 3 weeks in, and she said, you know what, I reached out to you firstly in March. I don't know why I didn't just start then. I'm not saying that I need to be your solution. I might be a solution. You might find other solutions. Whatever you deem best, good on you. But ultimately, you need to take some purposeful action in whatever area you deem necessary to actually create breakthroughs. This is where it all comes down, where some of these all join into one. The final one The final one, number 5, is this. He takes a breath. People buy into the limiting beliefs that get reaffirmed to them. People buy into the limiting beliefs that get reaffirmed to them. What I mean by that is this. Look at a baby. See what limiting beliefs that they have. Or even a young child for that instance. They don't. I want to be an astronaut. I'm going to be the fastest man in the world. I'm going to be the strongest woman in the world. I'm going to be president of the United States. I'm going to run around the world. I'm going to sail the Atlantic Ocean. I'm going to be Mrs. Confident. There is no limitations, no limiting beliefs. Why? Because they haven't been conditioned by the environment, by their parents, by the circumstances they've faced in life, by the conversations that they have. They haven't been limited by those things. So they have got a free, open mind to see the world in all of its purity for what they can make it. And over time, we get conditioned by these limiting beliefs, and then we start to buy into them. We start to buy into the limiting beliefs. You know what? Maybe I'm not good enough. You know what? Maybe this is just who I am now. You know what? Maybe this is just the way life's meant to be for me. Absolute rubbish. Not because I'm judge and juror, because you know that's not the case. And if you're listening to my voice right now, there's a part of you that knows that. This is where we need to strip back the nonsense. We need to break free from them crappy limiting beliefs. I'm trying to keep my language clean here. We want to break free from those limiting beliefs so you can live with the purpose, the passion, the love, the joy, the excitement, the zest, the confidence of who you truly are, the same way you were as a baby or as a kid. Because oftentimes children are the best teachers for us. Children are the best teachers. They're not conditioned by these limiting beliefs. And truthfully, most of the time, the beliefs that we have, they're not even true. You know, I go back to point number 1, where we're story-based, not action-focused. This often coincides with the limiting beliefs that we have. You know, based on the belief that you have, you'll conjure up the stories. If I believe that I'm not good enough, I start to find all the stories in my life that marry up to that. It's interesting. I told you some of these intertwine. If I believe that anything that I do goes wrong, all I do is find evidence of that. I create more stories around that. These limiting beliefs, they are invisible limiting beliefs that get in people's way. And they're not even things that we've chosen. They're not even things that you've chosen to believe. But like I say, through a number of factors, you've been conditioned, your environment, you've been brought up to believe it, you've had experiences over time that has been a constant repetition to you and you've made that meaning. There's many reasons, but limiting beliefs will keep you caged. And so with one of my longer podcast episodes here, I wanted this particular episode to be something that you can question yourself in a purposeful and meaningful way, where you can look at going, right, you know what? This is my area of focus here. Forget trying to piece all of these things together anymore. Forget trying to go down more rabbit holes of this and that and whatever else it may be. No. Where am I emotionally stuck? Which will be one of these reasons, I imagine. Maybe a couple of them. What do I need to do about it? Because like anything, you know, the journey of 100 miles starts with a single step. And if you are going to make a step today by listening to this particular episode, by watching this on YouTube and making a step today, you're already going to put yourself in a better place than where you were yesterday, I beg your pardon. And if that can be the case in your life, then guess what? You do that for a day, a week, a month. Guess what's the new story you're starting to create in your life? Already one of them knocked away. And as I say, if I can help you in any way, shape or form here, please feel free to reach out. I would love to assist you in whatever way. Or if you was to let me know, you know what, I think this was one of the main reasons that was holding me back. Let me know. I would love to serve you in a deeper way. I will look forward to seeing and serving you again very, very soon. It is time to elevate your mind. Take care.